If you're tired of constantly stretching your tight upper trap only to get relief for a couple of minutes before it comes back, this video is for you. I'm gonna give you the tools to help understand why you have this tight upper trap in the first place, and also exercises that can give you immediate and long-term relief. First, I think we're all vaguely aware that people that have this forward head slouched position of their posture tend to have a little bit more issues with upper trap tightness. The reason why this happens is because the upper trap attaches to the skull and also to the collarbone in the front. So basically, the more forward our head goes and our jaw detaches from itself. So basically, the more forward our head goes and the more we slouch, the more these upper trap fibers up top here near the base of our skull get tight, but also that's pulling the collarbone right here in the front up and back, and that's shortening those fibers as well. This is creating an environment where we now have leverage to use our neck to breathe, because not only is our sternum depressed, but our neck is in a shortened position. And normally our neck should provide secondary assistance of inhalation to us. But now it's in a position to work as a primary mover of inhalation. So our sternum is depressed, which is limiting expansion of our rib cage, and our lungs are on a rib cage, so it's pretty important that we get expansion there. So basically, this is a feed forward type of mechanism. This is a feedback loop. If we have a rib cage that can't expand because we're so depressed here, then we're gonna need to find a compensatory strategy to create expansion and elevation of the rib cage. So that creates more reliance on the neck, which creates more tightness of the upper trap because those fibers are gonna be tight and pulled closer together. So first, let's talk about some general things we could do. Then I'm gonna get into what it means if your upper trap tightness is primarily on one side more than the other. So the key for us is we've got to get the sternum in a better position, and we want to get expansion of the rib cage 360 degrees, front, back, side to side, without engaging our neck on the front or the back whatsoever. So the breathing is very key here. Pay very close attention to it, but the general guidelines are we want to get a full exhale, and we want to bring the rib cage down with that full exhale, but not the sternum depressing with us. And then once we feel a little bit of side ab tension, we want to close our mouth, put our tongue on the roof of our mouth, and silently inhale. So a general guideline is I should hear you exhale, but I should not hear you inhale. And that is going to be key for keeping the neck disengaged. So here are two exercises I really like for starting to get better expansion of the rib cage, both in the front and also in the back, to help decompress this upper portion of our rib cage that will be restricted due to these tight upper traps in part.
So what Connor's gonna do to start is he's gonna find a wall, and if he has something like a DC block here or a bench, he's gonna just put it underneath his feet. And he's gonna get this 90-degree angle at his hips and at his torso. So he's got a 90-degree bend at the knee and the hips. Feet are about hip width apart, just flush against the wall. And we have a towel roll here underneath his head to give him some cervical lordosis, kind of tipping that chin back to a more neutral position, and a ball between his legs just as a placeholder. So from here, he's gonna have his arms away from his sides at about a 45-degree angle, and he can have his wrist either neutral like it is now with his thumb up towards the ceiling, or he can internally rotate or pronate his hand as much as he comfortably can without his shoulders popping up. So now what Connor's gonna do with about a 2 out of 10 effort and his feet just flush against the wall is he's gonna pull down into that block, peeling his tailbone slightly off the floor. Should feel some hamstrings. From here, he's gonna gently press down with about a 2 out of 10 effort max into the floor with his hands with that pronated hand position or more that neutral hand position, whatever feels most comfortable for him. He's gonna exhale like he's fogging up a window in the winter, nice and slow through his mouth. And then he's gonna pause, gently inhaling through his nose. You should feel his chest, upper chest area expand here. He's gonna do this for about 3 to 5 breaths. Most common mistakes with this activity are gonna be people inhaling too aggressively and feeling their anterior neck. So if we see anything and you're watching a client and their neck kicks in, or you feel like you're pulling up your collarbones into your ears, you know you're trying way too hard and you need to relax. The other common mistake is people are gonna roll this towel up way too thick, and it's just gonna feel awkward for someone. Their head's gonna be tipped too far back, or if the towel is poorly placed too far up, it's It's going to give him this chin tuck and close that airway. So those are the two most common things you want to watch out for.
If you like this type of approach, check out my beginner body restoration program, which is designed for stuff exactly like this, issues and limitations exactly like tight upper traps. It is a very thorough program that takes into account the body from head to toe, and it's designed for anyone to be able to do it. So check that out down below in the description.
What we're going to do to start is get in obviously a seated position where we have our hips and knees bent at about a 90-degree angle and our feet are flat on the floor. We're going to feel our sit bones evenly on both sides. And if we're doing that, our pelvis is in a good position. Now, making sure our head is stacked on top of our rib cage and pelvis, we're going to make sure that the desk height or whatever we're using here is allowing us to have about a 60-degree angle of our humerus relative to our trunk here. 60 degrees or less of this angle right here is what we're looking for. And then we're gonna get our elbows wide enough so that way we can get contact with our inner medial elbow, this bone right here, on that table or desk or whatever we're using there. So the width you go will depend on the range of motion available to you. So your hands are gonna form about this sort of a shape right there. Now, all we're gonna do is slightly push the rib cage back and protract the shoulders without pushing the head forward like that. So I wanna make sure we stay stacked and the ribs are just going back a little bit. And then you're gonna maintain that position as you breathe through it, just like any other drill. Exhale through your mouth softly, about 5 to 10 seconds. And then you're gonna feel a little bit of side abs engage, not your six pack. If you exhale softly, it'll be more of your side abs. And then maintain that about 2 out of 10 as you inhale through your nose, nice and chill. And that's going to expand your back right here. The key is, can you maintain this stacked head over your rib cage, over your pelvis, without depressing your sternum and shoving your head forward? That's the biggest common mistake you're gonna see on this exercise. So Trevor, if you show them what happens with that, that's not what we want. So I wanna make sure we're nice and upright and tall, feeling our sit bones, and just a little bit of protraction, pushing the ribs back right there, feeling those inner elbows.
Now you may be wondering, well, what if I have an upper trap that's tighter on one side than the other, or just one tight upper trap? Well, it's likely that that side is more elevated and you're experiencing these issues I'm describing in this video, just more exaggerated on one side. What you're typically gonna see on the side that's more elevated is more rib flare on that side. So these lower ribs will be more popped out like this because this side is more elevated. So what we want to help do is drive the rib cage down on that side to allow for the rib cage to get better expansion. Typically what it means when you have more flared rib cage on that side, you probably have a less functional diaphragm on that side as well. So here's an exercise I like for getting the rib cage in a better position on that side and taking stress off that upper trap. This is the hook lying banded D2 flexion exercise. What we're gonna do is grab a long thin band with just a little bit of resistance on it. Don't pick something that's too strong, because if you pick something that's too strong, you're gonna kick on muscles you don't want here. So we're gonna get in this A-frame position right here with our low back flat against the ground. Our knees are about hip width apart and our feet are about hip width apart right here. Now, it's important that we get the contacts of our PSIS, our posterior superior iliac spine, which are those two bony protrusions on the back side of your upper pelvis. Keep those in contact with the ground at all times. We're also going to keep our chin neutrally pointed at the ceiling, nice and relaxed. Now, if we're trying to get the left side to lower, we're gonna hold the band in the left hand, palm down, and we're gonna initiate it by just reaching and dropping that shoulder. What's gonna happen is, because Trevor just dropped his left shoulder and reached that hand away from him, his head is gonna feel like it relatively side bends to the right. And that is good. Let that happen naturally, not because you're actually trying to side bend it to the right. Just keep your head in the same place as that left shoulder drops. As he does that, he's gonna feel some left side abs, obliques kick on. Now, holding the band in his right hand, starting with the palm down, it's almost like he's a knight trying to draw a sword out of a sheath as he brings his thumb towards the floor. And he's gonna keep his arm mostly straight. He's gonna feel muscles in the backside of his right shoulder blade engage. And then he's going to inhale and return to the starting position, rotating that hand a little bit as he does it. He's gonna go again, and he's gonna exhale up, making sure he's not shrugging that shoulder. but he's still getting enough motion. So you'll know that you're at your end range here when you feel like those PSIS contacts are gonna come off of the floor, or you feel like your ribs are gonna flare, or you feel like you have to shrug that shoulder. So for some people, they might end up stopping right here, and that's fine. Just work within your range of motion, whatever is good for you. The most common mistake here is people are going to lose that reach with the downside there, and their arm is gonna get pulled up, their shoulder is gonna get shrugged up. So make sure you're really staying down with that shoulder. The effort level is around a 4 out of 10. Don't try to overdo it, because if you do that, then you're just going to like totally flex your spine like that. That's not what we want. It should be a subtle drop of the shoulder, engagement of the abs, and that's it.